This used to be defended by nothing. No army, no navy, no wall. Just ice. For most of human history, the Arctic Ocean was frozen solid enough that nobody could fight over it, because nobody could get to it. That's changing fast. Since 1979, the summer ice has shrunk by almost half. And underneath what's left, 5 countries are quietly staking claims to a piece of the planet nobody thought was worth fighting for. I wanted to know what happens when the world's last unclaimed ocean stops being frozen shut. Here's why the ice mattered so much. During the Cold War, the Arctic wasn't empty. It was a highway nobody could see. American and Soviet submarines slid under the ice cap for decades, and the ice itself was the defense. You couldn't watch it from a satellite. You couldn't sail a carrier group through it. Geography did the guarding. That's the part that's disappearing. Now flip that. Less ice doesn't just mean an open ocean, it means an exposed one. In 2008, the U.S. Geological Survey ran the first real count of what's sitting under the Arctic seabed. 90 billion barrels of oil. Enough natural gas to cover 30% of the planet's undiscovered reserves. Almost all of it offshore, which for decades meant almost all of it unreachable. Not anymore. So in 2007, Russia did something almost theatrical. 2 mini-submarines dove nearly 14,000 feet under the North Pole and planted a titanium flag on the seabed. The expedition leader called it heroism for science. Nobody believed that was the whole story. Canada's foreign minister said it best. This isn't the 15th century. You can't just sail around planting flags and calling it a country. Except the flag didn't actually change anything. Under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, a seabed claim isn't won by symbolism, it's won by geology. Russia has to prove its continental shelf physically connects to the North Pole. That process has now run for over 2 decades, through data submissions and UN Commission reviews. And in 2023, Moscow finally scored a real legal win, not a flashy one, slower and much less photogenic. Legal or not, the real prize isn't the seabed, it's what floats on top of it. 3 new routes are opening across the top of the world, and each one solves the same problem differently. How do you move a ship from Asia to Europe without going through Suez? Start with the one that matters most right now, Russia's Northern Sea Route. It hugs the entire Russian Arctic coastline, and Russia treats it as internal water, not international water. That means foreign ships need Russian permission, Russian pilots, and Russian fees just to pass through. The US and Europe call that illegal under maritime law. Russia calls it sovereignty. Here's the catch nobody puts in the headlines. The Northern Sea Route still isn't the shipping revolution it's sold as. Traffic is rising, but it's a fraction of what goes through Suez, and the route is only reliably open a few months a year. It's less a finished highway and more a bet on where the ice will be in another decade. On the other side of the pole, Canada has the same argument, pointed at its own allies. The Northwest Passage threads through Canada's Arctic islands, and Canada insists it's sovereign Canadian water. The United States and the EU disagree. They call it an international strait, open to anyone, no permission required. Which means even NATO allies are fighting over who owns the ice as it melts. The third route barely exists yet. The Transpolar Route would cut straight across the top of the world, through international waters, avoiding both Russian and Canadian claims entirely. Right now, it's mostly theoretical, locked under ice too thick and unpredictable to insure. But every one of these countries is planning for the decade it isn't. While the routes are still being argued over, the map around them has already changed. In 2023, Finland joined NATO. In 2024, Sweden did too. Between them, they added over 800 miles of new NATO-Russia border and gave the alliance a continuous coastline along the Barents Sea, the exact water Russia's northern fleet depends on. Russia didn't get a say in that. Russia answered with hardware, not diplomacy. It spent 2 decades building up the most advanced military infrastructure anywhere in the Arctic. Radar stations, air bases, reactivated Soviet-era outposts along its northern coast. As of this year, Russia still holds the edge in raw Arctic military presence. NATO's expansion closed the geography gap. It didn't close that one. And this isn't a 2-country story anymore. The EU is the biggest trading partner every Arctic state has, and the biggest outside loser if this goes wrong. If Arctic shipping lanes get disrupted, or a Russian patrol and a NATO patrol miscalculate in a strait nobody's agreed the ownership of, that cost doesn't stay in the Arctic. A CSIS analysis in early 2026 didn't hedge about it. The rules-based order that used to govern this region isn't fraying anymore, it's unraveling. So here's where this actually lands. The Arctic spent most of history defended by something no army could replicate, ice thick enough that getting there was the whole problem. That defense is melting on a schedule nobody controls, and every country with a coastline up there is racing to lock in position before it's gone. Legally, militarily, commercially, all at once. The ice used to decide who could show up. Soon, only power will. I don't think anyone actually knows what the Arctic looks like the first year it's fully open, but 5 countries are betting a lot of money and a lot of hardware on being the ones standing there when it happens.